This is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're at the 9th annual LD Micro main event in Bel Air, California. With me right now is Brad Hoagland from Ecoark, publicly traded company with the symbol EARK. Brad, welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the program. So for our audience, let's start off with an overview of the company, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so Ecoark was founded in 2011 by our CEO, Randy May. Randy May had 25 years experience at Walmart, so he saw a lot of inefficiencies that existed at big box retailers. What he set out to do was to provide a holding company that found technologies that address inefficiencies and tackle sustainability within the supply chain.
So what does that mean, tackling sustainability and transparency? How does that work?
Yeah, so transparency really means that there's a lack of visibility into things that are occurring in the supply chain. And I'll get into this, but one of our subsidiaries, IntelliFlex, which has now been rebranded to Zest Labs, really tackles this lack of visibility or transparency within the supply chain.
Okay. So holding company, that means you have a portfolio of some companies within it.
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about, each, what they do.
Absolutely. So again, the common theme is sustainability and transparency. We have four operating subsidiaries. The first one, Pioneer Products, is a closed loop recycling business where we're taking reclaimed plastic from big box retailers and turning that into trash cans, and we're selling those back into those closed box retailers. So it's called that closed loop sustainability process. We also have a company. We vertically integrated that Pioneer Products company with an acquisition of what's called Sable Polymer Solutions. They are transforming that reclaimed plastic into the resins that go into the trash can. So now we can control our costs and really expand our margins within that closed loop business. We also have another company called Eco3D, which is transforming the 2D world of blueprints and architecture into a 3D world. The as-built scenario and situation of a building is usually quite different than the architectural design, and there are great losses that occur because of those differences. And the company that we're really excited about, which I mentioned, is Zest Labs. In the United States, it's estimated by the USDA that $160 billion of fresh produce is wasted every year. And that's throughout the entire supply chain, whether it's after it's picked all the way through to your refrigerator. Our solution that provides transparency, again, the visibility into the supply chain, is going to address about $50 to $60 billion of that food loss.
So what is some of the company's criteria when you're looking to add a company that accomplishes these two set, themes that Ecoark stands for?
Well, we've really focused on retail, but I think going forward we're going to be agnostic, between retail and other sectors. But really, it needs to solve those questions of sustainability and transparency. And we've really focused not only on the economic impact, but the social impact, that those companies can have on the world, and that's important to us, our CEO, and all of our shareholders.
What's been the core business thus far, when we're talking about Ecoark? What do people tend to know you for right at the moment?
Yeah, so at first, our first acquisition of Pioneer Products, that really, we're using that reclaimed plastic that I talked about and that closed loop solution. We're taking that plastic and repurposing into trash cans that are sold at Walmart. So not only are we, achieving our mission with that company, but we're also selling and showing a big box retailer that we can deliver on scale. We have vendor numbers with all our subsidiaries at that customer.
And you also mentioned Zest Labs a little earlier. What is the importance of that to the company's portfolio?
Yeah, so Zest Labs is our crown jewel asset. It's the asset that we're really excited about, and we believe the market will be very excited about. As I mentioned, $160 billion of fresh produce is wasted every year, as estimated by the USDA. And we are tackling the part of the waste that's occurring within the supply chain. And we think that's the lack of visibility into the supply chain and accountability has led to an inconsistent product, and it's led to a lot of waste. We are the first technology that's at the pallet level, and it's predictive. There's some competitors in the space, but they work at the nodes. We call the nodes certain certain spots within the supply chain. We focus throughout the supply chain. And to give an example of why we're excited and why this product has impact on the supply chain is, if you look at lettuce, for instance, when the lettuce is harvested in the field, it will have a very finite shelf life. From the day it's harvested, it'll have about, let's call it 12 days of shelf life. If the lettuce, when it's picked, is properly handled and the temperature, so that the lettuce goes directly into a pre-cooler after it's harvested, and it needs to be reduced to a temperature of 34 degrees Fahrenheit. If it is not properly reduced to 34 degrees Fahrenheit, if say it's reduced to 38 degrees Fahrenheit, you are going to lose more than 50% of the shelf life of that product because you haven't properly taken the temperature out of that product. So as it travels throughout the supply chain, right, it takes several days to go from the time it's picked in the field through the supply chain to a distribution center at a large retailer, ultimately to the shelves at that retailer, right? So if you haven't properly cooled the product and it's going through that 5 days, right, it's going to be lost. And what's occurring now is that when that product is delivered to the distribution center, a technician visually inspects the product. So there's no subjective way of determining whether, through visual analysis, how long the shelf life of that product's actually going to be. So the technician will accept or reject that product at the distribution center completely on a visual basis. And so what we set out to do is to provide visibility again throughout the supply chain, where we know what the temperature has been and the time that it's been handled throughout those existing conditions throughout the supply chain, so we can much better provide the retailer ability to much greater predict what the shelf life of that product, that individual product, is going to be, because we've used our tag at the pallet level to track all of that tangible data throughout the supply chain.
So how does this product also work?
Yeah, so when we originally acquired it was called IntelliFlex when we made the acquisition in 2013. It was strictly hardware. It had 32 patents. When we acquired it, we realized that there was a much greater problem to solve. So and to sell it to the customers that we had in mind, we needed to make it into a software product that it can be used ubiquitously throughout the company and other companies for that matter. So the hardware technology is a tag, an RFID-based tag that collects data. Right, and that data is read by another set of hardware that we have called readers. So the tag, when let's say, for instance, the pallet of lettuce that we were discussing, when the pallet of lettuce is picked in the field, we are going to place our tag in that pallet of lettuce, right? And that tag will sit in that pallet throughout the supply chain. That tag is collecting data on temperature, specifically temperature and time. It can collect data on other things, but the highest correlation to shelf life and maximizing that shelf life for optimal use of that product is temperature and time. So that tag is sitting in the pallet, it goes into the pre-cooler, and it's collecting the temperature that this product's been subjected to in the pre-cooler. And again, that 34 degrees Fahrenheit that we discussed that's the optimal outcome for that product through the supply chain. As that tag sits in the pallet, it goes through each node in the supply chain, and each one of those nodes is a reader, and the reader is collecting data from the tag, right? And so those readers are forcing that data into the cloud, and we have proprietary algorithms that for each individual product, we have algorithms that can predict what the shelf life is going to be for those products. So that, again, the tag is collecting the data, other hardware is capturing the data from the tags, and it's being forced up into the cloud, into our algorithms, and ultimately our proprietary optimization system. And we also have what's called intelligent routing code. So when this data is collected and forced up into the cloud for calculation, we are able to use that data to intelligently route that product to where it'll be optimally used. So if it has a shorter shelf life, as we've defined it by our algorithms, then it will go to a shorter location. If it potentially has a longer shelf life, it'll go to a more distant location. And more distant locations for fresh product means a higher wholesale price.
So where is the product currently at in the sales cycle? Is it currently on the market right now, or is it still in development?
So we've put language in our most recent 10Q that we've completed a pilot at a major brick and mortar retailer, and we've shown that our product has significant impact on the shelf life of fresh produce. We intend that 2017 will be commercial deployment of that solution, and that's when we begin to monetize our solution.
From what you can tell me, what are some of the company's goals and milestones for the first half of 2017?
So our goal in 2017 is to deploy commercially and really to start saving those retail customers on the losses that are occurring to them because of this mismanagement of the produce throughout the supply chain. And if I were to describe that better, when a product arrives at the distribution center, right, and it's gone to visual inspection and it's been approved for to be held as inventory at that retailer, right, it becomes their inventory. So if they receive a product that only 90% of it, or maybe even be 50% of it, 50% of their product can ultimately be sold because it has enough shelf life left to be sold at the retail center. That's ultimately as a hit on their P&L, right? Because it's taken as inventory on their balance sheet. And if they can't sell it at the retail level, right, their cost of goods sold are hit, but they can't sell that product, so their margins are impacted. So if we're able to implement this commercially, we can have a major impact on the P&L of retailers across the United States in fresh produce.
And helping them save money, right?
Helping them save money, right? So if you talk about the problem, and so like I said, the USDA estimates $160 billion of food is wasted, and about 30% of that is in the supply chain. That means that 30% of that is sprinkled across those retailers in the United States, right? So that's hitting their P&L. We intend to monetize or impact that $50 billion that is being lost to those retailers. It's, again, taken as inventory, and they're not able to sell it, so ultimately their margins are impacted. If we can reverse that and have them a sellable product that they can optimize their revenue opportunity, everyone wins.
Brad, where can our audience go and find more information about the company?
If you wanted to find more information about our company, please go to www.ecoarkusa.com.
That's ECOARKUSA.com. My name is Robert Kraft, and I'm coming to you live on SNNLive, and we're here at the 9th annual LD Micro main event in Bel Air, California. With me again is Brad Hoagland from Ecoark, publicly traded company with the symbol EARK. Brad, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.